You know, we all glance down at the speedometer. We see that number, and we think we know the whole story. But what if I told you that number is only half the picture, and the other half? Well, that's the part that actually keeps us safe on the road. To get why, we need to start with a really simple question that, believe it or not, most of us get dangerously wrong.
So here's a thought experiment for you. If you double your speed, say from 30 to 60, you need about double the room to come to a complete stop. It feels right, doesn't it? It seems perfectly logical. But our gut feeling here is totally, and I mean dangerously, wrong. See, the real answer is hiding in the difference between two words we use all the time, as if they're the same: speed and velocity. Now I know, it might sound like we're about to dive into a high school physics class, but stick with me. This one tiny distinction changes everything about how you should think about safety behind the wheel.
So first up, this is about more than just a number. Let's break down exactly why velocity is a way more powerful and frankly more dangerous idea than just the speed your car is showing you.
Okay, so here's the core difference, and it's deceptively simple. Speed is what physicists call a scalar quantity. That's just a fancy way of saying it's a single number. That's it, 60 miles an hour. End of story. But velocity is a vector. It takes that speed and it adds one absolutely critical piece of information: direction. So now it's not just 60 miles per hour, it's 60 miles per hour north. Think about it like this. Imagine you're driving in a big circle, like a roundabout, with your cruise control locked at a perfect 30 miles per hour. Your speed isn't changing at all, but because your direction is constantly changing, your velocity is changing every single second. And that tiny little detail is about to become a very, very big deal.
Because when it comes time to hit the brakes, the consequences of your velocity don't just add up in a nice, neat, predictable line. Oh no, they grow exponentially, and that's where things get scary. You see, your total stopping distance is actually made up of two different parts. First, you've got reaction distance. That's the amount of road you cover in the time it takes for your brain to see a problem and tell your foot, hey, hit the brake. Then you have the braking distance, which is how far the car continues to travel after your foot is already hard on that pedal.
So, let's put some real-world numbers on this. Cruising through a neighborhood at 20 miles per hour, your total stopping distance is about 63 feet. That's a bit more than 4 car lengths. Seems manageable, right? All right, now let's just double our speed to 40 miles per hour. If our intuition was right, the distance should be double, so 126 feet? But it's not even close. It jumps all the way to 164 feet. That's well over half a football field, and all we did was double our speed. And now for the real shocker. At a totally normal highway speed of 60 miles per hour, your stopping distance just balloons to an insane 303 feet. That is a massive, massive stretch of pavement you are betting is going to stay clear when something goes wrong up ahead.
To really let that number sink in, 303 feet. That's the entire length of a football field, from goal line to goal line. That's the distance you need from the moment you even see a hazard to the moment your car is actually at a dead stop. And that's assuming you have a good car, good tires, and good weather.
And this is the brutal math that explains why that happens. Just look at the braking part of it. When you double your speed from 30 to 60, you don't double your braking distance, you quadruple it. It's not a straight line up, it's a terrifying curve that gets steeper and steeper. This is the exact moment, that miscalculation, where people suddenly run out of road.
So why? Why does this happen? Why this insane exponential jump? The answer has nothing to do with your car's engine or its brakes. It's a fundamental law of the universe. This is where physics gets very, very real.
It all comes down to a concept called kinetic energy. This is the energy your car builds up just by being in motion. And to stop, your brakes have to convert all of that motion energy into heat. Now, don't worry about memorizing the formula, but just look at that last little bit of it.
Yeah, right there. The real villain of this whole story is that tiny little number 2, that v squared, velocity squared. That's the hidden danger. That squaring effect is the exact reason your braking distance quadruples. It means the energy your car is carrying around doesn't just increase with speed, it explodes.
And when you have 4 times the energy being unleashed in a crash, you get pure devastation. The impact forces are just off the charts. The risk of serious injury or worse skyrockets. All that extra energy is why high-velocity crashes are so much more likely to end in rollovers or multi-car pileups. Our car's safety systems, and frankly, our bodies, they just aren't designed to handle that kind of force.
But
The impact of velocity doesn't just stop with braking and crashes. It has this quiet ripple effect that touches almost every other aspect of controlling your vehicle.
Have you ever had that terrifying feeling of hydroplaning, where the car just suddenly feels like it's floating on ice? That whole phenomenon is created by velocity. At low speeds, your tire treads do their job. They push the water out of the way. But as you go faster and faster, there's less time for that water to escape. Eventually, you hit a critical speed where the water pressure builds up underneath and literally lifts your tires right off the pavement. And at that point, you're not driving anymore. You're basically water skiing in a 2-ton metal box with zero control over steering or braking.
And it just keeps going. The extreme energy in a high-velocity crash can completely overwhelm even the best safety features. Airbags and crumple zones aren't magic, they still have to obey the laws of physics. High speeds also generate way more heat and friction, which literally breaks down the rubber in your tires much, much faster. Oh, and you're fighting more wind resistance, which forces your engine to work harder and burn way more fuel.
Okay, so we've seen the physics and we've seen the pretty grim consequences. So what are we supposed to do with all this? Well, it all comes down to a shift in how we think. It means learning to drive like a physicist. And that leads us to this idea of safe and prudent driving. Look, this isn't about driving painfully slowly everywhere. It's about being an active manager of your car's energy. It means seeing the speed limit not as a target you have to hit, but as an absolute maximum ceiling for perfect conditions. You adjust your velocity way down for rain or fog or heavy traffic. You're always picturing that football field of stopping distance and leaving yourself an out. You're not just driving, you're actively managing energy.
And really, that's the whole point. Making this crucial mental shift from thinking about speed to understanding energy is what can change everything and keep you safe.
So here's my challenge to you. The next time you're behind the wheel, try this. Stop asking yourself, how fast am I going? And instead, start asking a new question. How much energy am I responsible for right now? Because truly understanding that a tiny nudge of the pedal creates a massive exponential increase in risk, well, that's real power. The question is, on your next drive, how are you going to use it?
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.